There's something about walking your own land, your own trail, through your own trees that just hits different. Today we're talking about how to build that. Hey, welcome back to the Land Buyer's Guide. I'm Scott Thomas with landparker.com, where we help everyday people get onto rural land with affordable owner financing. And today's episode is a fun one. We're talking about walking trails, how to plan them, how to build them, and how to keep them going without spending a fortune. Whether you've already got your property or you're still in the dreaming stage, this is the kind of thing that makes land ownership really come alive. So let's get into it. All right, so first things first. Before you pick up a chainsaw or start hacking through brush, you want to walk your land and actually think about what you want this trail to do. That sounds obvious, but a lot of people skip it and end up with a path that doesn't really go anywhere useful. Ask yourself, are you connecting two parts of your property? Do you want a loop trail for morning walks? Are you trying to get down to a creek or a pond? Maybe there's a nice overlook somewhere that you want to be able to reach easily. Having a purpose in mind makes the whole project a lot cleaner. And then think about who's using it. If it's just you on foot, you can keep things simple and narrow. If you want to bring a UTV through, or if you've got horses, that changes the width you need to plan for. Now here's something I'd really recommend. If you just bought the property, or even if you've had it a while, give yourself at least one full season of observation before you commit to a permanent route. Watch where the low spots flood. Notice where the deer are already moving. Pay attention to natural sight lines and shaded areas. The land will kind of tell you where the trail wants to go if you're patient enough to listen. A free tool like Onyx Maps or even just Google Earth can help you sketch out a rough route before you start on the ground. Nothing fancy, just a general idea of where you're headed. Okay, so once you've got a route in mind, let's talk width and surface. For a foot traffic only path, you really don't need much. 18 to 24 inches is enough. You're just walking through. But if you want it accessible for a side-by-side or maintenance equipment, you're probably looking at 6 to 8 feet of cleared width. For the surface itself, you've got options. In dry, stable ground, just clearing the vegetation and compacting the soil can be totally fine. It works. In wooded areas, wood chips or mulch are a great low-cost option. They help with drainage, and they look like they belong there. Gravel, specifically crushed limestone, is good for spots that tend to stay wet or see a lot of traffic. And honestly, in an open field or meadow, just mowing a consistent path is the simplest thing you can do. It's low effort and it looks really natural. So you've got your route flagged, stakes and surveyor's tape work great for this, and now it's time to actually clear the trail. A few tools you'll want to have handy: loppers or hand pruners for the small stuff, a brush cutter or string trimmer for overgrown grass and weeds, a chainsaw if you've got trees to drop, a mattock or trail Pulaski for digging out roots and shaping the ground, and a rake for cleaning up. Work from one end to the other so you're not constantly stepping over your own cuttings. And as you go, try to keep the canopy overhead where you can. Shade is your friend. It keeps the trail cooler in summer, it slows down weed growth, and it just makes the walk a lot more enjoyable. Now here's something that a lot of people don't think about until they've got problems: drainage. This is probably the single biggest factor in whether your trail lasts or falls apart within a year or two. When water sits on a trail surface, it erodes the soil, creates muddy spots, and eventually just makes the whole thing miserable to use. The fix isn't complicated, but you do have to think about it. One of the simplest approaches is outslopping. That's where you grade the trail surface so it angles slightly toward the downhill side, maybe around a 5% slope. Water sheets off to the side instead of pooling in the middle. Another technique is water bars. These are small barriers, either earthen berms or wooden pieces, that you install diagonally across the trail on slopes. They redirect water off to the side before it can run all the way down the path and cause erosion. In naturally wet spots, you can use stepping stones or a simple bog bridge, basically a small wooden walkway, to keep your feet dry and protect the soil underneath. And sometimes the easiest answer is just routing the trail around the wet area entirely. No shame in that. Work with the land, not against it. Once the trail's built and you're happy with the route, marking it is a nice touch. It helps guests and family members follow along without getting confused, and it gives the whole thing a finished feel. Paint blazes on tree trunks at eye level. That's the traditional method. Use different colors if you've got multiple trails. In open areas where there aren't trees, stacked rock cairns work well as markers. And if you want to go a little further, simple wooden or metal signs at trailheads and intersections are great, especially if you've got kids out there exploring on their own. Maintenance after that is pretty straightforward. Walk the trail a couple times a year and look for fallen trees or branches blocking the path, vegetation creeping in and narrowing the tread, any eroded or washed out spots that need some attention, and drainage features that need to be cleared of debris. It doesn't take long once the trail is established. An hour or two, twice a year, can keep it in great shape. A few other things worth mentioning for folks building trails on rural or raw land specifically. Check with your county or local authority if you're planning to clear significant vegetation or build any kind of water crossing. Requirements vary a lot depending on where you are, so it's worth a quick phone call to make sure you're not running into anything unexpected. If your land has a creek or wetland on it, leave a vegetated buffer, some natural vegetation, between the water and where your trail runs. This protects water quality and reduces erosion, and it's just good land stewardship. And think about wildlife as you plan the route. Running a trail along the edge of a field rather than cutting straight through the middle of a forested area can make a real difference in terms of disruption to nesting birds and other animals that are using that land too. Here's the takeaway I really want to leave you with today. Building trails is one of the best ways to get to know your property on a deep level. You start noticing things you'd never see from a road or a field edge. Microclimates, hidden little corners, old fence lines, big, beautiful trees. The work itself teaches you your land. Start small. A quarter-mile loop is a completely legitimate first trail. Adjust as you go. Some of the best trails out there started as nothing more than a worn footpath through the grass. They get better over time. The important thing is just getting out there and starting. If today's episode got you thinking about land, whether you're already a landowner looking to get more out of your property, or you're still in the research phase figuring out what owning rural land even looks like, I'd love for you to check out landparker.com. We've got rural vacant land available across multiple states, and we make it accessible with owner financing that starts as low as $100 down and $100 a month. No bank, no credit check, just a straightforward way to get onto land and start building something. Head over to landparker.com, browse the available properties, and see if something catches your eye. I'll catch you on the next episode.